Hello and welcome to the TABtouch Preview, and what better time to be bringing this to you than preparing for Game 3 of a semi-final series between the defending NBL champions Melbourne United and the league's newest team, club the Tasmania JackJumpers. They're both fighting it out at John Cain Arena Monday night to determine who plays the Sydney Kings in the NBL Grand Final for the 2021-22 season. There's a lot to look forward to. We're here as part of the Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle family. TABtouch is making this possible, and I couldn't imagine being joined by any better person. Three-time NBL champion, the best power forward of his generation, a very proud Tasmanian. I'm Chris Pike, but the man you've all tuned in to hear from as part of this TABtouch preview is the one and only Matty Knight, and I'm about to be joined by him now. Okay, now thanks to TABtouch, we're here for a big preview of Game 3 of the semi-final series, and I'm sure this man never in his wildest dreams thought he would be able to talk about a Tasmanian team playing for a grand final spot. Matty Knight, on game day for Game 3, how are you feeling?
Yeah, excited for the state of Tassie. They've proved a lot of people wrong this year, and there's no expectation on them tonight. They get to go into Melbourne and a huge opportunity to play for a spot in the grand final, and I reckon they would build a lot of confidence from Game 2. It'll be a fantastic game.
Absolutely. I mean, as a proud Tasmanian, you grew up, you dreamt of one day being able to play for a Tasmanian team in the NBL. It never was able to happen because during your career there never was a team for you to play for. I mean, what's the feeling like knowing that the state that you grew up in, the state that you still, proudly call home, but he's able to do something so special, and more importantly, the whole state has got behind this team?
They really have. It's fantastic to see. It's been a while. Tassie's been calling out for a professional team, whether it was AFL basketball, and they've really gone behind the JackJumpers, and they've got the whole state talking. And it's giving, even when I was at Nationals, you'd watch when Tassie would play, their fan base had the JackJumpers singlets on, and it's just giving those kids down in Tassie an opportunity to play at the highest level because they see there's actually a professional team in their home state. So, like I said, I would have loved to have had a Tassie team in the league when I was around, but no, just watching what they've done this year, what they've done in the community's really gotten behind them. It's very similar to when I was here in Perth, when I first got here. The community was really behind. The players get out in the community, so you can see right through the top down, they've really got that community buy-in. It's what you need for a small market team, and it's fantastic to see.
You had an amazing career in Perth, obviously, but if the JackJumpers came in when you were still in the middle of your career, how hard would have it been for you to say no to a contract offer?
It would have been interesting. No, obviously, I always dreamt of playing for Tassie, so I'm sure me and my agent would have sat down and gone, and Sherelle as well, and gone through everything. But no, I would have loved the opportunity. I'm sure Gibbo would have been the same.
Yeah.
I'm knocking as well for him to get down there and represent the state.
Well, we talked about Gibbo earlier. He still could be part of this team. I mean, imagine if he was actually playing on this team. That would have been nice. Unfortunately, it didn't quite happen. I want to get your full thoughts on that Game 3 a bit later, Matty. Beforehand, we've already got one team into the NBL Grand Final for this season. It's the Sydney Kings. They won the first two games against the Illawarra Hawks, and really it was their superstars that got them over the line. Jalen Adams, the MVP, came up huge. Gerard Martin had a really big game too in Sydney to get the series wrapped up. Xavier Cooks was remarkable across the two games. Ian Clark stepped up. DJ Vasiljevic stepped up. The Illawarra Hawks were brave in that game too, but I think it's pretty deserving that the Kings are through because they're a damn good team.
The names you just rattled off right then is one that game. There's about five others that could step up. But no, they're playing, just watching the way they play basketball, they're having fun. And it all starts with Jalen Adams. He's got a smile on his face. Same with Ian Clark. He's won an NBA championship, and they're out there having fun. And not in a disrespectful way, just the way he's playing right now. You can tell they're having fun, and I reckon that's a huge reason why they went on that massive streak. They're really enjoying their basketball, and if you're enjoying your basketball, the results will take care of itself. But, I think they came out and shell-shocked Illawarra in that first game. The way they were shooting the ball, but they were just getting whatever they wanted. Layup, three-pointers, whatever they wanted. which is very unlike Illawarra. And I think Gordon summed it up best. They were embarrassed in game one. Obviously, a team like that's not going to go down without a fight, and they came back in that second half. But the damage was done early. It's always tough in game two. You lose it on your home court. And Sydney had a lot of momentum, but they put up a brave fight. But like you said in the intro, Sydney have got a lot of weapons right there. You try and take one away, you've still got 5 or 6 others you've got to try and stop. So, no, they're well deserving of the grand final spot. And Jalen Adams showed why he's MVP. He was fantastic.
Absolutely. There's times during your career where you would go to play in Sydney and you would play in that building at TABtouch Arena and there was not much of an atmosphere and some pretty small crowds. It looks like it's a place that's absolutely rocking right now and they're really getting behind that team, and I think it's probably because the team plays with such high energy and plays with a lot of fun. It looks like it'd be a fun building to play in. How good is it to have a strong Sydney team and big Sydney crowds back in the league?
It's fantastic. Sydney's always a tough market when it's really an NRL, and you got the Swans doing well as well. And it doesn't really help. They're out in Homebush. Bit of a drive or effort to get out there. If it was in the city, I'm sure that the crowds would be big every game. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the way the style they're playing, fans enjoy it. They're getting out, they're entertaining. That's what as a fan you want to see, that type of basketball.
Absolutely. They're going to be mighty tough to stop in the grand final series as well, but we still need to work out who they're going to play. So the other semi-final series, Melbourne United and the Tasmania JackJumpers. Game one, Melbourne was too strong on their home floor, winning 74-63. They just locked down the JackJumpers, and Tasmania found it mighty hard to score, especially in that third quarter, only scoring 7 points. But I think they took some confidence out of it, went back home on Saturday night, and the JackJumpers just turned up the defensive pressure. They got physical. They played their style of basketball. They came away with the win to force the game three. They won the game 79-72. What have you made of those first two games?
Yeah, I reckon there will have been a lot of nerves in that game one for the Tassie boys. A lot of them probably never played at that high level. Obviously, Clint would have, maybe a couple of others, but maybe not that type of atmosphere. And Melbourne showed their experience. They knew they had to take care of game one, and they did that. But, this series is a lot different to the other series where it was a lot of offense, this out defense, and that's what both teams really pride themselves on. And you always knew Tassie going back home to my state, it would have been loud, sold out real quick. They would have been up and about, and they love playing down there in front of their home fans. But tonight will be an interesting game. We know Tassie can really, really shoot the ball if they get going. It'll be and same with Melbourne. I think both teams will be really knuckling down on the defensive end, and I reckon it'll come down to it'll be under 10 points side of the match. But I'd love to see Tassie, and I've tipped Tassie, but I think Melbourne's just got too much experience right now, and they'll be back home. Tassie's had one heck of a season, and I'm really, really hoping they get through. But I just think with the experience of Melbourne, when you got Chris, Delhi, Brad Newley, Baba's been there,
Barlow.
Jack Watt. So a lot of players have been there. But I think I really hope Tassie, but I think Melbourne, just with the experience, will get tonight.
We're here thanks to TABtouch, as you know, Matty, and they agree with your assessment. The odds for tonight's game, Melbourne United 132, the JackJumpers are 340. I think it's going to be a lot closer than that probably suggests, and I don't think either team is going to get to 80. We haven't seen anyone get out of the 70s just yet. It's going to be physical. It's going to be a defensive grind, and in a lot of ways it reminds me of those old battles that you had with the New Zealand Breakers when you were at the Wildcats. I mean, you watch these games. Does it feel kind of similar to that for you?
Definitely. That's what we prided ourselves on the defensive end. We knew we had to keep teams around that 80 or under mark for us to be successful. So this series is kind of like us in the New Zealand series. Two teams, both very physical, got it after on the defensive end. So it's great for basketball. But yeah, no, it definitely reminds me of those series against the Breakers.
How's your body feeling by this point? You get ready for a game three, having only had 1 day in between the first two games, and they've been hugely physical and intense games like those Breakers and Wildcats games were. They're lucky they don't have to travel from Auckland to Perth and back like you did. One of those series, you only had 1 day in between those games. It was absolutely incredible. But how's your body feeling by this point coming into the game three?
Oh, your body's sore, but you know this could be your last game, so you've got to go everything on the floor. Like you said, when we played New Zealand in the grand final series, we played in Perth, travelled the next day, played that night, flew back the next day, and then played a lunchtime game in Perth. But this is a fun time of season. You know you've got a rest coming up, so you got to leave everything on the floor right now.
I think it's fair to say, Matty, when you're watching the game tonight, you're going to be cheering pretty hard for the boys in green.
Oh, definitely. I'd love to see Tassie get in the grand final series. It'd be a remarkable effort. A lot of people had them as a bottom team, but in 1 year they've got a culture already established, and a lot of teams try every year to get that. And they've brought the right personnel in. I reckon one person doesn't get enough recognition is Mika Picona.
Yeah.
What he's done, he's been successful for wherever he's gone. So I'm sure he's playing a huge part behind the scenes as well. But he was a part of that New Zealand Breakers when they were very successful. So, but yeah, no, I'd definitely be cheering for Tassie. But yeah, it'll be a great game to watch.
Mika has to be the toughest guy you ever battled against, isn't he? By far. I can't imagine. Some people you ask, they say it was either Matty Knight or Mika Picona was my toughest opponent. I'm sure Mika's right up there for you.
Oh, Mika's got my vote. You just knew you were in 40 minutes of war when you played Mika Picona. There was no possessions off, and I loved it. That's the type of competition you want, playing against the best. You know, you have to bring your best to match them. And many great battles with Mika, and I really respect that man.
Yeah, it's impossible not to respect him. One of those grand final series he played against you, he did it on one leg as well, and still managed to help his team win a championship, which I don't mean to bring up bad memories, but he's probably the only man in the world that actually could have done what he did.
Oh, exactly. The stories you hear about his recovery is just unbelievable. He really took care of his body, made sure he was 100% ready to go, and even on one leg he still had an impact on the series. Just shows you the type of character that guy has.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're looking forward to that tonight at John Cain Arena to decide who plays the Sydney Kings in the grand final. Before I let you go, Matty, we haven't had a chance to talk about the Perth Wildcats playoff streak coming to an end. You were a big part of a number of those streak years continuing. What was your reaction when you saw it come to an end in that loss to the South East Melbourne Phoenix? It benefited the JackJumpers, which I'm sure you were happy about, but I doubt you ever thought you'd see that day come.
No, not so often you think the streak would end. But it was tough to watch. You kept within, come down to the last shot. They almost pulled it off. I feel for the guys. You know, obviously, when you're in the team, you talk about you don't want to be the guy and part of the team that ends the streak. I remember it was my last year when we won the championship. We're in the same boat. We had to beat Sydney at home and then travel to Melbourne and win that last game. We lost, we're out, and finished with third. So I know how much pressure. They would have said there was no pressure, but you feel the pressure. Obviously, not having Vic Law out there was a massive influence as well, but it was upsetting to see how upset the boys were, especially Jesse, how much it meant to him. But obviously, the streak had to end one day, but he never wanted to be a part of it, and I'm sure those guys will use that as motivation in the off-season, come back ready and stronger next year.
Yep, absolutely. A motivated Wildcats is a dangerous thing for the rest of the league, and we've never seen how they bounce back from missing the playoffs, so it'll be fascinating how they respond. But right now, we're trying to work out who will win this NBL championship. So if it goes to your plan, Matty, and unfortunately for your sake, Melbourne wins tonight, a Sydney-Melbourne grand final series is pretty enticing. If it goes that way, who do you think wins?
Oh, it would be very tough. I know NBL lovers, back to when I first came to the league and it was the Tigers versus the Kings, the hatred between the two teams. But I think Sydney, the way they're playing right now, especially Adam, Brooks, they've just got weapons all over the court. I just think Sydney will come out and take care of business.
It'll be pretty exciting. I mean, the offensive firepower at the Kings, the defensive physicality and experience of United, I think it'd be exciting. But, gee, if the JackJumpers got there, seeing them try to lock down the Kings in a series would be fantastic as well. So, either way, we've got a lot to look forward to. Thanks for helping us break it down, Matty. Thanks to TABtouch, and let's look forward to tonight.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks for having me on.